Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid, and happy opening day in Major League Baseball, albeit just one game later today. We'll have a full preview of the upcoming baseball season tonight. The Yankees will take on the Giants, and we'll preview that game and discuss a whole lot more in Major League Baseball. Also, a little bit over about 30 hours away from the NCAA tournament, tipping back off with the Sweet 16. We'll break everything down in the NBA, college basketball, hockey, baseball, anything that you can imagine, even golf. Jared Hockman's going to join us coming up in just a few minutes. We'll get the ball rolling with a little basketball. Brady Cannon with some golf. Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. And then Danny Burke breaks down the latest in basketball as well. So those are just some of the great things we have in store for you here today. But great things would not be a way to describe North Carolina basketball in recent years, and that has cost Hubert Davis his job. 5 seasons, he's out at UNC. An overall record of 125-54, 4 tournament appearances. He did win the national championship in his first season with the Tar Heels, but I guess the school felt like it was really not his players, I guess, initially when he took over. Either way, he has $5.3 million of guaranteed money on his deal, and they'll honor the terms. So Hubert Davis will sit home and get $5 million. Good job by him, I guess. U.S. House of Representatives has passed a Muhammad Ali Boxing Revival Act. Why? Because boxing has fallen off over the last few years. Tuesday, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the act, which will try to reshape how pro boxing is organized, creates a unified boxing organization, promotes fights, ranks fighters, and implements a UFC style to boxing with ranks and titles. Of course, there's so many different championships and titles in boxing right now. It's really hard to keep up in the heavyweight division. Has certainly taken a huge hit after the last decade, I would say, or so. Not a lot of big heavyweight fights in boxing, and that's what keeps it going. All right, how about tonight in Major League Baseball? We got opening night. It's on Netflix. You can stream it. First time ever a streaming service will host the first game of the baseball season. How about that? Yankees and Giants in San Francisco. Tough one to call, right? Yankees a slight favorite, -122 on the money line. Total is 7. Usually a lot of low-scoring games to open up the season. Yankees season win total is 90.5. They are +170 to win the AL East, also +450 to win the AL, and 10-1 to win the World Series. Giants number is higher than it's been in the past couple of years. Their win total is 80.5. Remember, they made that great trade last year to acquire Rafael Devers, who will be in the starting lineup tonight when things kick off. I am intrigued to get this baseball season going. The NBA's Board of Governors has approved a vote for expansion bids. It looks like Seattle, Las Vegas, among the teams that could be listed. It does appear to be those were the only ones that will really get a shot at it. And we'll see if this gets executed now or in a few years. But it seems like the NBA is just going to expand, and probably Vegas would be the first choice. That's a guess by me. Okay, no guessing. The Hornets are surging toward the playoffs. They've had a really good season, 134-90. So they absolutely covered that big spread last night. 17.5-point home favorites. They made a franchise record 26 three-pointers. Wow. LaMelo Ball, 20 points. Kobe White had 27. Charles Lee knows all about those big threes and said that was the key to the win.
It started with our defense. To have that type of attention to detail, focus, to win every quarter. I was really impressed with our guys' competitiveness on the defensive end. I think once we get stops, we're really dangerous out in the open court. The guys have done a phenomenal job of continuing to share the ball, the pass aheads, the pass acrosses, not over dribbling versus pressure. You see a shift, making the right pass, finding windows, and then shooting it with confidence. So love the effort that everybody gave today. But I think it started with our defense and total competitiveness and engagement on the defensive end.
And meanwhile, the Hornets are one of those teams that don't really feel like a favorite to win the East, but they're playing good basketball. The Knicks are one of those favorites to win the East, but man, do they play down to the competition. They beat the Pelicans last night, 121-116. They needed this all the way down to the wire to win. So Pelicans covered. They came up big with Jalen Brunson, of course, as always. He had 32 points in the game. And after the game, Josh Hart talking about just how clutch Brunson was and has been all season.
When Jalen takes over a game like he did at the end of tonight, just what's it like to be on the court when he's scoring almost every possession, taking every shot?
Yeah, that's a position that I know he likes to be in. We want him in that position. And you learn when you watch this game or you play this game. Last 3 or 4 minutes of a game is winning time, and that's when your players go. Your superstars, your main guys go out there and show them why they're at that level. So that's what he did.
I mean, it steps in the right direction. And in some of those games, we weren't just right there. We actually had it, but then we lost it. So those are just growing pains that, we got to finish it. I don't know how else to say it. We just got to finish it. But we have taken steps in the right direction.
It's good to see Zion playing this season and back on the court. The Magic just can't get out of their own way. They lose again yesterday to the Cavs, 136-131. I guess if there's a silver lining, Paolo Banchero had 36 points for Orlando, and they covered the spread. But beyond that, it's been all Cleveland, especially since that trade of James Harden. Donovan Mitchell had 42. Harden had 26. Kenny Atkinson, head coach of the Cavs, says this combo between the two of those players has really worked.
Two talented players that understand the game. High-level scorers, high-level playmakers. But I just told the team in the locker room, if we're going to play defense like this, we're going to have a short playoff stint. Right now we have a mentality that we're just going to outscore people. And we all know when it comes playoff time, it's not going to be that easy offensively. You're not always going to shoot like we're scoring now. So if we're giving up 132 points, 128, I don't know, seems like every game, we're not going anywhere.
One, I'm proud of how hard they played tonight for 48. I mean, there was intensity, there was urgency, there was a focus level to them. Obviously, we turned it over a couple too many times. I gave them some breaks. They hit some tough shots, communication breakdowns. But at the end of the day, we've got to make sure we continue to play with this amount of intent, intention, and urgency for the remainder of these 10 games. And we give ourselves a chance every single night.
Not just the Magic, but a lot of teams gave themselves a chance last night. A lot of dogs covering, including the Suns. They lose 125-123. Jokic had a go-ahead jumper with 11 seconds to go, and here is Jokic on that final possession.
Nikola, can you explain what you saw in that final possession that led to the game-winning shot?
We run the pick and roll, and I think there was some kind of misunderstanding in their coverage, and Jamal had a kind of mid-range, and he passed to me, and I had like a little floater, push shot, whatever it is,
and
I made it.
And then defensively getting that stop down the stretch.
Yes, I mean, we knew that the ball's gonna find Booker somehow, and I think we did a good job. It was a pump fake contested, 7 contested or whatever, but he needed to work for it, and that's what we needed. That's what we kind of wanted. We know he's a really good creating his own shots, tough shot maker. Yes.
Jokic, of course, always a threat for a triple-double and a win. And the playoffs are coming. We'll see a lot of that. Long way for the playoffs in baseball, but the Chicago Cubs are expected to be there, and they'll have opening day tomorrow. Pete Crow Armstrong has $115 million now in his pocket. 6 years, $115. That's the official extension. Kevin McGonigal has made the Tigers opening day roster. 21-year-old infielder, supposed to be one of the best young players in the game. He's the favorite to win the American League Rookie of the Year. Brandon Sproat makes the Brewers opening day rotation as he ends up getting in the rotation after being traded, of course, for Freddie Peralta. Also, Connolly Early, the Red Sox number 3 prospect, made the Red Sox. He'll be in the starting rotation as well. He's a left-handed pitcher, pitched very well in the playoffs last year. And Shohei Ohtani, you ever heard of him? He pitched in the spring yesterday. 11 strikeouts, 4 innings pitched. We'll take a quick time out. We'll be back with Jared Hodgson next.
About the expansion stuff.
Yeah, but doesn't it make a lot of sense, Kevin? So but it's 28-29. He's already talked about, I'm playing in the Olympics in 2028. Retirement isn't on KD's mind right now. Play in the Olympics in 2028, and then the 2029 season, play where it all started, baby. Seattle.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
We are really starting to see that slowdown, and we're anticipating it with March Madness this year. Obviously, you don't have as many states going online. Gone are the days when you're adding 10 states every year, so the numbers will inflate that way. And you mentioned prediction markets taking money as well. One firm, HG Gambling Capital, estimates that they'll add about another $500 million in bets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe there are causes for players to become basketball drunk. Thursday, Friday, you're sitting around a hotel and all you're doing is watching ball. And then you go out on the floor and you're a little bit groggy. Yeah, because all you've done is you've laid in that hotel bed and watched game after game after game. And you get caught up in the emotion. Like everybody in the country was.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Get 50 home runs? He only stole 13 bases? Boy, he only pitched to a 4.15 ERA. Yeah, he's not the MVP. Like, who can steal it from him? If Ohtani plays the whole season, who can steal it from Ohtani?
It has to be something so dramatic that it will bring pause to the voters to say, hey, Ohtani's great. He was a good pitcher this year. He was a really good hitter. But what this player doing, we have to take note of.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to have Jared Hochman in the house from Covers to break down opening night in Major League Baseball. We're going to make him pick a side or maybe a total or something for the future here, and we'll see if we can get some nice futures for Major League Baseball as the season opens up tonight. And Jared, I think that's a good place to start. A side, come on, guys. We're doing Netflix first here, okay? You could hold off on the odds, Tommy. Jared. A streaming service in Major League Baseball opening up a season. Like, this is a flat-out first in sports. The NFL has gone to the streaming services, and they've, had them on some of the big events, Thanksgiving, Monday Night Football as well. And so has the NBA, okay? They've done that. But the first game of the season for only folks that have Netflix. By the way, I think it's going to be great. I don't doubt that this is going to be a huge success. But a historical night, I think, just for sports in general.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you've got a marquee team in the Yankees playing. I mean, it'd almost be a little bit better, Craig. It was like 2 or 3 years ago with like the Arson Judge flip-flop against the Giants. We had a really, really fun one to pit him against it. But again, you've got the reigning AL MVP. You've got, a really great team. The Giants have some great talent as well. I don't know how much offense we're going to get, but, you can see there's a pinstripe jersey behind me. I'm a Yankees fan, but if you want me to take a side, I think I will go with the Yanks. I like the pitching matches for even. I think the bullpen's a little bit deeper for the Yankees, which should come into play here, but that's kind of where I'm leaning for that. As for my favorite pick, I think it's the under, though. Again, you got Logan Webb, Max Fried going on. You got some really great pitchers going. And I look at the Giants, they have the lowest average against lefties in baseball last year, and they're kind of running back the same roster. They've brought in Luis Arias, who is a really, really good hitter, struggles against lefties a little bit. Yankees are also running it back, basically the same roster we had last year. Not exactly, the highest potential if they're not hitting home runs. Logan Webb's a great pitcher, so I think the number got that 70. I think you're going to get under there too, but I think the Yankees kind of eke it out in a close one.
Yeah, it could be a really exciting close game, and for me, I'm excited being in broadcasting to see like the pregame and the postgame, and by the way, the other thing that I'll say about Netflix, this is not me doing a promo for Netflix, but the quality of the broadcast. I know 2 years ago was a nightmare, but this past year for the NFL was so good. On I think it was Christmas Day, it was just fantastic. I remember working doing those shows. Okay, Jared, so let's pique your interest on some futures in Major League Baseball. Let's focus in on the American League MVP, the Rookie of the Year. I know you got some positions there, and then another one too. I'd like you to explain. So let's start off there.
Yeah, AL MVP, you see it up there. I'm actually looking at Bobby Witt, plus 450. Obviously, Aaron Judge is the favorite, rightfully so. He can easily hit 50, 60 home runs, and he's a monster. But these MVP awards a lot of times are a little bit more narrative based, and you might have a little bit of judge fatigue. He's won a couple times. You look at Bobby Witt; he's a multi-category monster. He runs, he hits. He's got all this hype from the great defensive plays from the World Baseball Classic. You saw on like social media that Paul Skeens loves him and their BFFs. So you think you can carry that in with a Royals team that I think is on the rise. Vinny Pasquantino, Jack Caglione, they get some good arms there. If the Royals can get back to the playoffs, even win the AL Central, Bobby Witt is another monster year. He almost won it 2 years ago in a similar situation. I think it's worth a sprinkle at, plus 450. I've seen it as high as like plus 550 at some books. So I'm looking at Witt there to win the AL MVP. I think he's the only one that really kind of challenged it. Cal Raleigh's not going to repeat what he did last year. I don't know if we can trust Nick Kurtz to have that kind of year already. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at 16 to 1 is also an interesting, little bit more longer shot. Again, on more of a premier team that should do well. But for me, Witt is the place I'm going to go. Craig, you mentioned the AL Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to stay in the AL. I'm looking at another AL East person. I'm looking at Dylan Beavers from the Baltimore Orioles. I think you can find him as high as 22 to 1. I look at it this way. It's a little bit of a long shot because, the playing time is not guaranteed. That outfield's got Taylor Ward, Tyler O'Neill, Colton Cowser, but those aren't superstars. He can easily get time over them. He will get shuffled in with them. There's no given that Samuel Basallo, who's also on the Rookie of the Year odds board, is going to do well in his first kind of major league experience. Beavers did get a cup of coffee last year, played the last 2 months, had some ups and downs, but he showed some positive things. I love the Orioles lineup. You still get all kinds of talent. There could be a chance to really put up some big numbers there. And, Craig, when you look at some of the other favorites on that board, a lot of pitchers, so rookie pitchers you never trust. Trey Savage, Blue Jays might be careful with him on his innings. Same with Conley early for Boston. Tatsumi Imai on Houston. He's going to be the fifth starter, so I don't know if they're going to put up enough numbers to do it. I don't really trust catchers like Carter Jansen because catching, just play defense and survive. This kind of thing you got to do to put up the counting stats. And so you're looking at Kevin McGonigal, Okamoto, Murakami, and DeLauder are the other competitors. I like Beaver's position. I like the spot. As long as he gets the time, I think he could really make a splash there. Again, like 22 to 1. It's kind of the odds you're getting.
Yeah, not bad. What is this last one here? Because this is new for me here. Race to 10 wins. Blue Jays are 10 to 1 here. Where did you find this one? This is different.
So I found this at DraftKings. Again, it was a first team to 10 wins. Blue Jays are 10 to 1. I think the Dodgers were the favorite at 7 to 1. I think the Mariners, but I love the Blue Jays to start really hot. And you look at their schedule. They start the season at home versus the A's. Then they're at home versus the Rockies. Then they go on the road at the White Sox. Those are not good teams they're going to be facing. Then they go at home with a rematch against the Dodgers. I'll tell you this right now, the Blue Jays will be far more hyped for that and amped up for that than LA will be. I could see them. I can see the Blue Jays starting 7-2, on that first 3 series against beating up some of the bottom teams in the league. I like it. Win 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. 10 to 1, there's worse bets to go. If they don't start hot, then there's going to be really a lot of panic here in Toronto. Same kind of thing. But again, 10 to 1 the Jays to beat up some bad teams, and they're supposed to be a World Series contender. I'm there for it.
All right, you saw the World Series, and if you want to take the Dodgers, go ahead and take them. But the Blue Jays took them right down to the end. So I would assume as we show the odds for the World Series winner, you can change your pick as we go, Jared. But really, this is the last chance. You got to do it before the season begins, right? Like this is the official pick. Dodgers are 2 to 1. Would you take anyone else? Anyone in the field?
I would look at whoever you like in the American League is who I would probably sprinkle on. I think it's going to be really hard to knock off the Dodgers, but I think, I don't trust the Mets. I don't trust the Cubs, and I don't trust the Phillies. So if I'm looking at the AL, I kind of want to go back to the Blue Jays, but I'm actually going to go and look at the Seattle Mariners. I think they've got the pitching staff and the bullpen and a decent lineup. Or if you want a little long shot, stay in the AL West. Look at the Texas Rangers. If Corey Seager comes back healthy, Jacob deGrom is ready to go in playoff time. They've got, bounce backs from Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter. I think they have enough talent that they could make some noise. You're right, Craig. It's hard to go against the Dodgers, but maybe look at some of those AL West teams if you're going to go somewhere else.
It's really not hard to go against the Dodgers. Isaiah kind of will tell you it was a lot easier if he just scores a run. Things would have changed. Anyway, I don't want to bring that up, Jared. Sorry. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.
Anytime.
About the expansion stuff.
Yeah, but doesn't it make a lot of sense, Kevin? So but it's 28-29. He's already talked about, yeah, I'm playing in the Olympics in 2028. Retirement isn't on KD's mind right now. Play in the Olympics in 2028 and in the 2029 season, play where it all started, baby. Seattle.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
We are really starting to see that slowdown, and we're anticipating it with March Madness this year. Obviously, you don't have as many states going online. Gone are the days when you're adding 10 states every year, so the numbers would inflate that way. And you mentioned prediction markets taking money as well. One firm, HG Gambling Capital, estimates that they'll add about another $500 million in bets.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
I do believe there are causes for players to become basketball drunk. Thursday, Friday, you're sitting around a hotel and all you're doing is watching ball. And then you go out on the floor and you're a little bit groggy. Yeah, because all you've done is you've laid in that hotel bed and watched game after game after game. And you get caught up in the emotion. Like everybody in the country was.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Get 50 home runs? He only stole 13 bases? Boy, he only pitched to a 4.15 ERA. Yeah, he's not the MVP. Like, who can steal it from him? If Ohtani plays the whole season, who can steal it from Ohtani?
It has to be something so dramatic that it will bring pause to the voters to say, hey, Ohtani's great. He was a good pitcher this year. He was a really good hitter. But what this player doing, we have to take note of.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Appetizer is up this week for the Masters. It's the Houston Open. We're going to get into that and some potential winners. But before we do that, let's circle back to last week and bring back Brady Cannon, who appears with us each and every week. We talk some golf ahead of the upcoming events. And as I told you guys earlier on the week, Brady hit the winner of last week's Valspar Championship. And Brady's been coming on the show with me for a while. And this year in particular, it's been... Welcome back to the show, Brady. You were close. Welcome back to the show, Brady. You were close again. You just missed. Okay, we got one this past week. Matty Fitzpatrick.
Kick the door down.
And a big one too. Not like a 5-1 either.
Yeah, no, not too shabby. I mean, he was one of the favorites. I think he was the third choice, maybe the second choice even. I had him at a little better than 14-1. There were some 15s out there, but hey, you still got to pick the right guy. And yeah, it was nice to get one home. Like you said, we've had a couple of close calls. It was nice to break through, and hopefully this, starts a little bit of a run here, which is great considering the Masters is just a couple weeks away.
So the big news this week is Scottie Scheffler not playing in the Houston Open, which is probably a bigger question when you come back with me next week or the week after for if that factors into the Masters, because we can just put this one aside for now and just wonder if him not getting the full warm-up and changing diapers in the middle of the night is going to change his approach. But let me tell you, Brady, that's a real thing going into the Masters. That is a real thing. We'll get to that when we get there. But we don't have that issue this week because Scottie's out. And so the favorite, by the way, is Min Woo Lee. This is the first time I can ever remember Min Woo Lee being a favorite of any tournament that you and I have ever discussed before. I don't recall him being a favorite. So why is he 13-1? I know it's a lighter field, and I get that too, but why is he the favorite in this?
Yeah, it's a good question. He's the defending champion. It's his only PGA Tour win. I really like him for this golf course. A lot of people were on him last year, and I remember kicking myself. Why didn't I pick him? He makes perfect sense for this golf course. And what's interesting about this course, it's set up. It's always been, like you said, the appetizer for the Masters. It's very similar to Augusta National in terms of wide fairways, very little rough, big, massive undulated greens. The style of play suiting a bomber that has an incredible short game is what we need to see success at Augusta National. And it's similar here at Memorial Park. I actually have a future on Minwoo Lee at 80-1 to win the Masters. So, you know, it makes sense that he is one of the guys at the top of the board here. Goddard, as you know, has been off to a fantastic start. Brooks Koepka's a really interesting story. He's starting to play very, very well. His irons have been outstanding. The putter's a little bit cold. He is number one in ticket count at BetMGM this week to win the Texas Children's Houston Open. And I believe he is their second biggest. Yes, he is their second biggest liability. Nikolai Højgaard is one of my selections. He's the biggest liability at BetMGM. I don't like that, but he fits that same mold, Craig. Big hitter with a great short game. That's the formula this week.
So do you think that, let's go back to Koepka for a minute. I'm not surprised to hear about the tickets, by the way. Do you think that, I don't want to say that he's forcing himself to play right now, but it does feel like he's trying to get as many holes as he can in before Augusta, because he's the one name that sticks out, and I think it's probably a mistake, honestly, to take him in this tournament, because I feel like he is someone that just needs the work more than anybody else to get ready for a couple of weeks.
I think you're spot on. I think he's a little bit of a fade for me this week because we're starting to get a little too excited about Brooks, and his price has really come down. I think he's in the neighborhood of 20-1 at some places, if not lower. Now, 30 or 40-1 with Scotty in the field, okay, I think it makes sense, but and I don't necessarily want to jump on him for Augusta either. He's playing really well, and I feel what you're saying is accurate. He's trying to get as many reps in as possible, but I don't know if he's ready to win just yet. I want it to happen. It's great to have him back, but I don't know if he's going to get my money just yet.
And Tiger Woods played in this TGL, Brady, last night, and it was the first time I think he had played in a while. This was not any indication that he's changing his mind or shifting and going to play at Augusta in a couple of weeks, is it?
You know, it's funny. A good friend of mine just asked me that question. He's writing an article in the UK and asked me for my opinion on that. I think last night was a sign that he's going to try. I would also bet certainly that he doesn't make the cut. He might not even make 2 complete rounds, but it tells me that maybe he's going to give it a shot to at least try to get started in a couple of weeks.
It's interesting. There's been no reporting whatsoever on him trying to get back as of yet. Brady, thanks again.
I don't like to overthink it, Kevin. I really don't. And similar situation, I feel the same way when it comes to betting. I find like that Sunday night, so, you're watching the NFL games, and all of us do it. Like, all right, let's look to next week now. You know what I mean? That Sunday, the dust is settled on the game. They just end, and so I'm like, let's look at next week. My first reaction is always the best reaction.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Why the regular season, Joe, does mean something, because Detroit is going to get a back-end team in the East to begin.
Yes, and it does. And it's just a very strange situation, unfortunate situation for Cade Cunningham in Detroit. But the good news is, if you keep playing teams like the Washington Wizards, well, you're not going to need Cade Cunningham to win those games like they did last night.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are really starting to see that slowdown, and we're anticipating it with March Madness this year. Obviously, you don't have as many states going online. Gone are the days when you're adding 10 states every year, so the numbers will inflate that way. And I mentioned prediction markets taking money as well. One firm, HG Gambling Capital, estimates that they'll add about another $500 million in bets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Sam McQuillan is with us, midweek edition from Legal Sports Report. So make sure you head on over to LegalSportsReport.com to read about all of the topics that we discuss here on the show. And we do begin, as usual, with a discussion on prediction markets. Sam, let's get started. We'll head over to a story that you guys have up about Kalshi and parlays. No big surprise that parlays dominate the sports betting market. How are they doing on the prediction market?
Yeah, parlays are pretty much the reason that FanDuel and DraftKings were able to become profitable a couple years ago because, there's such high margin bets. They're long shots, and sports books tend to win, or they do better when you lose. So think about a straight bet that someone places on a sports book, usually about 5% hold rate for a sports book. A parlay, it's about 20%. So there's a reason that all the promos you get, all the advertisements, all centered around parlays. Sports books tend to do better when you bet more parlays. That's why when Kalshi, which is on this prediction market platform, which functions differently than sports betting, when they came out with their parlay product in late September, early October, everyone was really interested in how it would work, how adoption would grow. And we're seeing right now that it's gone from about 2% of weekly activity to about 20% of all the sports trading on the platform. So I think 1 out of every 5 sports bets placed on Kalshi is now a parlay. But the big question, or the big dilemma rather, for Kalshi is they're not making any more money from these bets just like sportsbooks do, because the way Kalshi works, the very reason that prediction markets are able to avoid sports betting laws and call themselves not betting is also the reason that they don't make more money when people lose. Kalshi takes about a 1% fee on every trade. It pairs a bettor up with another bettor to take the other side. So a straight bet or a parlay means just the same 1% fee for Kalshi versus a sports book. It can maybe mean 20% higher margin. Another big problem is because it's a peer-to-peer model, Kalshi has trouble pairing people with other people to take the bet. It's a lot, on a sports book, you can go and build out your parlay, customize whatever you want. They have all this technology that prices in risk. If you do a same game parlay, it prices in different factors in the game, which could impact the odds for you. On Kalshi, you're really just dependent on someone taking the other side of your trade. So we're seeing that parlays are growing on Kalshi. There's more people taking those trades out there right now. I know Kalshi has a request for proposal system that it puts out to try to match traders with a lot of money to the other sides of these long shot bets, where it's peer-to-peer trading versus sports betting. But the big kind of dilemma for them right now is, it's growing, but it's not making them any more money, which is precisely why DraftKings and FanDuel are investing in prediction markets of their own. We've talked about the products they launched back in December really just kind of look the same as most other prediction markets right now. But for those companies, DraftKings just bought a company called Railbird Exchange for about $250 million. FanDuel plans to spend another $300 million on its prediction market services, basically to build out its own technology to make sure that it can make more money off these kind of bets than right now, where parlays just kind of equal the same as a straight bet. So it's kind of fascinating to see what, the growth is moving. That's kind of the first step for Kalshi and other prediction markets. But the second step is that growth doesn't really matter if these bets are, functionally the same as straight bets. Certainly it allows you to be more competitive with your offerings. You can say, hey, we have parlays too, bet them here. But for those services right now, A, they're harder to actually do and provide, and B, the most important part is they're not giving the economic benefit. So it'll be really interesting to see over the next couple of weeks in March Madness. I'm sure parlay activity will grow as they keep trying to expand it. But then when does that next phase hit? When does DraftKings and FanDuel kind of come in and really try to perfect the product so it's making them more money? So yeah, it's an exclusive we have on Legal Sports Report. I'd urge you to go check it out. It's pretty interesting to see how these numbers grow and correlate and how it's affecting the bottom line of the sports books that are taking your bets.
Yeah, and as Sam mentioned, check out LegalSportsReport.com, not just for that story, but a lot of the writing that the team does over there surrounding prediction markets and all the content as well. All right, Sam, let's move on to Congress, the Senate. It does seem like these prediction markets, at some point, we knew that this was going to come. There would be more than just the states getting involved as to whether or not these companies can function and operate around the country. So now we have a Senate bill that is up here, and I don't know what's going to end up happening here. And listen, it may not come to fruition. It may get voted positively, negatively. I have no idea. But if this vote goes through, whether it's in a month, 2 months, 6 months, or a year, this unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you feel about prediction markets, could lead to somewhat of a downfall of them operating.
Yeah, Craig, it's almost feels crazy to talk about, lawmakers introducing this bill right now, the Prediction Markets Are Gambling Act, which, as you mentioned, would functionally just kind of destroy prediction markets as we know them. It would make sure that prediction markets aren't able to offer sports betting style contracts or casino style contracts, which is about 86% of all the money they've taken over the past year is sports betting. So without that, they would just be fundamentally a much different business. But we've been talking about prediction markets for over a year now, you and me, how, it took a while for states to react. It took a while for regulators to react, but finally we're seeing a real big push in Congress. And I'll note this one is bipartisan too. It's from Senator Adam Schiff, a Democrat in California, as well as John Curtis, a Republican in Utah, which is notable because Utah doesn't have any gambling. They certainly don't have sports betting, but right now they do have prediction market activity going on in the state. So prediction markets are angering those states that don't want sports betting is all, just the same as they've been angering states that say, oh, if you want to do sports betting, you have to go through us. The proposal would change the language of the Commodity Exchange Act to explicitly prohibit sports-style contracts or even casino-style contracts if they ever get issued, to make sure that, companies like Kalshi, Polymarket, et cetera, can't really offer sports betting, but with a different name. There was a release from both senators that came out pretty hard against it, criticized the CFTC for essentially greenlighting these sports event contracts to exist. As we know, these prediction markets have been around for a while, but they only got into sports about a year ago, which is when the new administration kind of greenlit prediction markets to do sports. It's the CFTC is working on rules right now that it says is going to really govern this. It's soliciting comments from stakeholders. We'll see when those rules get put out, but there's more kind of momentum building in Congress. It's notable it's bipartisan from both aisles. There's another bill that Senator Chris Murphy put out about a month ago that wanted to explicitly make sure that we state that you cannot bet on assassinations or war or death on prediction markets, which has been a controversial topic as the U.S.'s involvement with Iran has spiked, and Venezuela, where some users have said markets were settled because of death or not because of death, and these prediction markets have kind of had to play catch up. So it's interesting we're seeing on Capitol Hill this push moving against prediction markets, at least to restrict them. Certainly if this measure would get passed and go through, it'd have to then be signed into law. Trump has been very, very pro prediction markets, so it doesn't really seem like this would actually happen anytime soon, but it is signaling more effort from folks across the aisle, which I think is really notable, especially because you have the federal agency right now moving to defend these contracts in court with about 30 states suing to stop them. You just had Arizona filed a criminal lawsuit against Kalshi for offering illegal sports betting, or what it says is illegal sports betting. And Nevada just won a temporary court decision, which basically kicked Kalshi out of the state until the lawsuit proceeds. So a lot more opposition swirling around the prediction market space. But one thing that is constant is there's still uncertainty. There's still not clarity. Maybe the Supreme Court will figure this out. We'll have to wait and see. But certainly more opposition against them right now.
All right, Sam, let's wrap it up with the state of California that does not have legalized sports betting, but they do have prediction markets. It feels like, not that they're accepting prediction markets in California, but it feels like the state is sort of getting ahead of this thing by saying, hey, look, if you're going to operate here, we're going to put some side penalties in if you end up doing things that we don't like, very specifically ads targeting kids who may be susceptible to betting or predicting.
Yeah, it's the Protecting Kids from Online Gambling Act in California, which, as you mentioned, does not have any sports betting or legal prediction markets, but this bill would make sure that those platforms are not able to advertise them to them in the state. If they do, there'd be a lot of penalties, about $25,000 per violation and potential criminal charges. So kind of their way of dealing with things, which, as we know right now, is very hard to do in this space.
Thanks a lot, Sam. We'll see you soon. We got Danny Burke from Covers in the House. He's ready to talk some Cubs baseball, but I think we'll probably wait till next week for that. But for this show, we'll do some NBA with Danny as he joins us now here on the show. You got your Cubbies? How far you got your Cubbies going this year, Danny? You got them going playoffs, NLCS, World Series. I got to tell you, if for me, it's hard to pick like them against the Dodgers, but I will say I got them winning the division. I got them going far this year. I don't know how far, but I think they're going to be really formidable.
I'm in a complete agreement with you, Craig. And honestly, more often than not, I'm cautiously optimistic with my Chicago sports fandom and particularly in the Cubs. But post 2016, it's kind of been hard not to get excited. And then you kind of fell back down to earth. But based on what happened last year, the natural progression would assume that, yes, the NLCS is very realistic. And I have the same approach as you. But is it worth taking a flyer on right now? No, probably not, because you are still in the gauntlet of the National League. And I think there is an opportunity, because how difficult the NL Central still is, to get a slightly better number on their win total, on their division odds, on them to win the World Series, all of that. So again, my heights for them this season are very high, like many other people. But in terms of the betting outlook, I'm going to wait a little bit to try to get a better number.
All right, fair enough. Let's dive into some NBA. Is it going to be lucky 13 tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder? They're going for their 13th straight win. You see the line there. I saw 3, so I'm seeing 2.5 here. So maybe a little bit of steam on Boston. Total 218. This is a really good matchup in the NBA. A potential championship preview. Who knows? Do you think that OKC keeps going here? Man, they don't know. They don't have, like they say, like the kids say, Danny, they have no chill, right? Like, just keep on winning. Like, the games don't really mean anything to them, or they just keep going.
Yeah, look, it's really hard to step in front of this freight train that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, just picking up right where they left off from their championship season last year. And now they're fully healthy going into this game against Boston, who's trying to work their way back into a full rhythm that they've been accustomed to. I mean, they're still missing Vucevic, their big man. And yes, Tatum being back is great, but it's evident that he's not the same player. And it's hard to blame him. I mean, you're coming off a massive injury and you came back quicker than most people would. And you look at his numbers defensively, he's provided a lot for this team, but offensively, he's actually minus 4.9 points per 100 possessions when he is on the floor. So the offense has taken a little hit when Tatum has been playing, and his 3-point shooting has been the worst of his career. So I would probably lean toward Oklahoma City. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the Celtics are coming off an egregious loss against the Timberwolves on Sunday, a little bit of a look-ahead spot potentially. Sure. I also like a prop in this game here, Craig. I like SGA over 10.5 rebounds and assists. A little bit of plus money if you search hard enough out there. But even if you have to lay a tad bit of juice, I think that's a viable prop play, because he has been padding those stats immensely in the month of March. And I think they're going to increase in a playoff-like environment against the Celtics tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Guys, we're going to keep going with the games tonight, and then I'll get to the NBA championship with Danny at the end here. So let's keep going with the games tonight. I got Cleveland taking on Miami. The Cavs, since the trade to get James Harden, when both of those guys are on the court, they look like that's a team also, by the way, that could be a factor in the East. But what has happened to my Heat here, Danny? My gosh, Adebayo had that huge game. They won the next game after that, and it was like, here comes the run for the Heat. You got fans here in South Florida, Danny, that are, I hate to say it, man, they want them to lose. They want them to fall out of this play in here, because it's like another waste of time for the Heat to be involved in this and not get a lottery pick. I have never seen Heat fans like this before, but they're looking at the team thinking they have no chance for the championship, so just get out and just get a lottery selection or a better shot at a lottery pick. What's going on here with the Heat? Look at the line's close here, too. Seems like they have a chance.
Yeah, Craig. I mean, I'm cracking up because as a Bulls fan, I suffer that every single year where it's in the same scenario, the play-in tournament every single year. And the Miami Heat are kings of that, like the Atlanta Hawks have been, like the Chicago Bulls have been. It's the same old song and dance. And it is so crazy because Miami did feel like they were giving us these feelings that they were getting on this hot streak. They were turning the corner. They were getting into that Heat culture under Eric Spoelstra. But now in this losing streak, I need them to prove it to me right now that they have their mind in the right area. And Cleveland, they are looking a lot better with James Harden since that acquisition. I think it's great through the regular season. I still believe they have their limitations throughout the playoffs. But as for tonight, both of these teams evenly matched, but where you've seen regression for both is on the defensive side. That's why you're seeing such a high total of 242.5. I would actually still lean toward the over, but one play that I liked in the prop department, Andrew Wiggins over 1.5 threes. The weakness of Cleveland's defense has been defending the perimeter, 20th in shot rate allowed, 26 in three-point field goal percentage given up. He's been a little lackadaisical in that regard the last 3 spots, but the last month in February, he was making over 2 threes a game, and I think he could resort back tonight to that number against a weaker Cleveland defense.
You mentioned the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks may get themselves out of this situation because they're playing good basketball. Ironically, the Pistons, they know their fate. They'll be in the playoffs, maybe facing off against a team like Atlanta. But for now, they don't have Cade Cunningham, so that's why this line is Detroit minus 2.5, because Detroit, although they did win their last game, not going to have their star, and Atlanta is playing well. Pistons minus 2.5, total 228.5 tonight.
Yeah, and it looks like Jalen Johnson could be back in the mix for the Hawks, which is huge. And if he's playing, then I do lean toward the side of Atlanta. I mean, the Pistons were able to stay afloat without Cade against the Lakers in their last game. The Lakers were riding a long win streak, and they were kind of due for a loss in that sense, but they still came back and made it competitive. I think this could be a situation where the Pistons kind of fall back down to earth a little bit without their star player in Cade Cunningham. So I would look to take the points with Atlanta, and I would also consider a prop play on Jonathan Kuminga over 4.5 rebounds at minus $130. Now, if you can't find that, there is some plus money prices at that 5.5 spot. Since joining Atlanta in 7 games, he's averaging almost 7 boards. So you're still getting a good look here with Kuminga in a spot where there should be plenty of misses with a Pistons team missing their top player.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the basketball and enjoy opening day with the Cubs as well this week.
Sir.
Thanks again for coming on.
Likewise, Craig. Take care.
All right, something else that we haven't even gotten into today. The NCAA tournament. It returns tomorrow. It's the Sweet 16. Arkansas. Wow, what a season they have had. Darius Acuff getting some accolades and some cash. We're going to tell you all about that next when we return and wrap things up here for this Wednesday edition of NewsWire here on SportsGrid. So don't go away. Back with more after this. Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. So the NCAA tournament returns, Sweet 16 tomorrow. Amongst some of the better games tomorrow, by the way, Texas-Purdue, which we'll preview on tomorrow's show, 7:10 Eastern. Iowa-Nebraska, interesting game at 7:30 Eastern. And then you have Arkansas taking on Arizona. There are some people that think that Arkansas could give Arizona a run for their money. One of the reasons why is their top player, Darius Acuff. We're going to get into him and exactly what he has achieved, which has nothing to do with on the court, which he's been one of the best players in college basketball. Time now for some Last Licks. Okay, so speaking of Acuff, let me give you the story here. He's got a new shoe deal with Reebok. Why is this significant? It's the first time an NCAA men's athlete has received a shoe deal from a major U.S. brand while still in college. How about that? Acuff, as a freshman, was named AP All-American First Team. In the tournament this year, he has been awesome. 30 points per game, 30.2 to be exact, 7 assists, 45% field goal percentage, almost 50% from three, and 87% free throw shooter. His 3 games of 30 points in the tournament is the most ever by a freshman. And if Arkansas is somehow to pull this upset over Arizona tomorrow night, he's got a chance to be the tournament's most outstanding player. But again, they are up against it, and the odds makers are telling us that the Wildcats are going to move on. That's the way that I saw it in my bracket. I did have, by the way, in my bracket, I did have these 2 teams, Arkansas and Arizona, facing off. But I did have Arizona moving on. We'll see if we get some upsets. We definitely got some in the first couple rounds of the NCAA tournament. Okay, so whoever the backup is to Bijan Robinson in Atlanta through the years has been, in fantasy football, what you would say a problem. It just really has been. Because it felt like Bijan Robinson has been, if not the best running back in the NFL, one of them, but every single time that Robinson would get the ball, like they'd take him out at the goal line, they put in this guy, you may remember him, Tyler Algier, right? So Algier left to free agency, he's on the Cardinals. But the Falcons have now determined, and again, the draft could change things, but they have signed a backup running back. And they also have Robinson. So now they have 2 Robinsons. Bijan Robinson and ex-49ers and Commanders running back Brian Robinson Jr. has signed a 1-year deal. So he'll be a backup in the backfield to Atlanta. And so, look, I think most people follow stats, so this is not going to be confusing. But there is a world for those of you who are watching football next season, or this season, I guess I should say, in a few months, that if you don't have the sound on and you're just watching the game and you see Robinson, you may not know if it's your guy, if it's Bijan running it in or Brian Robinson. So look, Bijan Robinson, I think where's Bijan Robinson in fantasy drafts? I don't do this early draft stuff, but I'm going to guess, what is he, number 1 overall, 2 overall? Like he's probably he's top 3 picks, says Chris. Yeah, I believe that. But Brian Robinson Jr., get ready, folks. 5, 6, 7 touchdowns, Brian Robinson this year. They take out Bijan, they put in Brian. You know what's going to happen. Okay, ceremonial first pitch tonight from Netflix. I had to read this one a couple times before I did the show today to make sure I got this right. Thing from Wednesday. Now, Wednesday's a show on Netflix. Addams Family stuff. May remember that? Thing, the hand from Netflix, will be lending a hand with the ceremonial first pitch ahead of Yankees versus Giants. Wednesday, which is a show on Netflix, which does surround Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family, will have Thing throw it out. How is this going to happen? I have no idea. Thing is a disembodied hand serving as Wednesday's right hand naturally and is considered part of the Addams Family. So are we thinking that this is like an AI image on the field of some kind? Chris, is that? Yes, this is what's going on. Okay, I gotcha. And they'll do this in San Francisco. Let me tell you, I know that there are some people maybe complaining that the Dodgers are not opening up on Netflix against the Yankees. Dodger Stadium, I've been to almost every stadium. Dodger Stadium is awesome, okay? But stadium in San Francisco, I think it's AT&T. I think it's still called AT&T. I'm not sure. Oracle, thank you. Oracle Park. It is the scenes tonight on Netflix, and the views and the production is going to be awesome tonight. Forget about the teams. What you see going on. Remember, 3 hours earlier, nice little sundown coming there in California. It's going to be great. I hope you enjoy. I'll be watching tonight. That'll do it for our show today. Thanks to all of our guests including Danny Burke and also Jared Hockman for coming on the show. Thanks to them. Thanks to Brady Cannon and Sam McQuillan as well. Thanks to Tommy, and thanks to Chris and Frank and the work that all of our crew does here at SportsGrid. I'll see you back here tomorrow for the real opening day here in Major League Baseball. Have a good night, everyone.